Kimberly Horn and staff. Is Kimberly here tonight?
He's here.
Okay. And the county commissioners for allowing us
from downtown Broadslab at the distillery, actually at the barn. Address is 4676 Highway 50 South, Benson, North Carolina. And I'm here with Mr. Paul Dunn, owner of the Mill City Feed, a member of this community for a decade and a half, a long time, brother. And what you got? How are your feelings on the UDO over in Johnston County?
I'm very concerned that a document is about to be codified that will not meet what the community accepts in having animals and agriculture in this county. It needs to be modified so that people can carry on things like Mule Day. 10 years down the road, Mule Day won't exist if this document passes as is.
God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend to pink-combed pullets who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk. Somebody who'd bale a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing. Who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
God made a farmer. Welcome everyone this evening. That was a special thing of Paul Harvey's. DeWitt Hardy and myself, John Langdon, happened to be attending the 1978 FFA convention in Kansas City, Missouri, when that was first spoken live by Paul Harvey. So DeWitt, that was kind of an honor, wasn't it? What? That was a few moons ago, wasn't it? Okay, thank you for whoever put that together. If you would, let's remove the cover. Let's bow our heads and let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you so much, Lord, for the creation that you have made here on this earth, Lord, for us to live on, to raise our families, to make a living, work in the earth, work in the barns, providing protein and carbohydrates that we produce in the fields and in the barns and the pastures. Lord, we just thank you for that opportunity as farmers and ranchers, Lord, to have that experience and to give our children that grassroots piece of working the land and being able to get a work ethic. Some stay on the farm and some move on, Lord, and we're all called to do different things in our life. And Lord, we know you brought us here for a reason. And I pray, Lord, we all find our purpose, God, and help us to live in peace as much as we can with one another. Help us to be respectful. Help us to be mindful of your 10 Commandments. And Lord, we just ask you to be with each and every one of these concerned citizens of Johnston County tonight. We thank you, Lord, for each and every one of our elected officials that represent us, whether it be in Smithfield or Raleigh or in Washington, D.C. We ask a hand of protection. Lord, we ask you for wisdom. You say we have no wisdom because we ask for none. We have not because we ask not. Lord, we just ask you for wisdom and guidance through this time tonight. And Lord, we know time is a resource as well. Help us to use this resource to move the needle in a positive way and help us to live in a more peaceful way across the land here in Johnston County. Lord, help us to be an example to one another, to our neighbors, and also to our neighboring counties. Help our county officials, our commissioners, Lord, to be able to be mindful of that and to be a light to the other counties in this state. And Lord, help us as landowners to be able to give them the attention that they need for our concerns respectfully and find some middle ground. Lord, all these things, Jesus, we ask in your holy and gracious name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. If people are still trying to file in, I guess we'll make room for you, so come in if you would. I'd like to pause a moment and give a long list of thank yous, starting off first with Jeremy and Shelley Norris for the use of this facility at their own expense. So I think we need to give Jeremy and Shelley a large round of applause. Thank you for caring about Johnston County to allow us to do that, the Norris family. I'd like to recognize my wife, Dr. Eileen Langdon, in the crowd, and her support. I'd like to recognize or thank Donnie Adams, DeWitt Hardy, Tina Middleton, any additional speakers that we may have tonight, and I believe I have a couple of lists of those, would be Will Bird and Lou Starlin. And if anyone else with the county commissioners or whatever would like to speak, please give me a nod and let it be known. We certainly would welcome, or the planning board or whoever else is with this county for this situation. Also, I'd like to recognize John and Christy Parker with Langdon Farms, and I would like to pause a moment and thank them for this report I was handed earlier today with Langdon Farms, going out to Johnston County landowners, their Facebook post. And I think as of this afternoon, they had 271,091 views, and they had 1,286 shares on the first post. The second post, they had 54,083 views and 206 shares. And John and Christy, thank you for that participation and engaging in that way. Their proud mother and daddy are here tonight. Steve and Louise Langdon, my first cousin, and Steve and Louise, thank y'all for being here. And John, welcome to the family, and thank you for all you do. Okay, moving down to Gary and Linda Benson. Gary? Did I see you, Gary? Okay, I'd like to recognize or thank Will Bird for his contribution. Don Olive, thank you, Don, for all you are doing up at the front, and all of the volunteers for helping put meeting and survey together. Be sure to sign in if you haven't at the front. And also, thank you, Lord. Thank you, everybody. I got my first cousin is calling. Steve, it's Tina. Sorry about that. I can cut this off. Okay. Sorry for that interruption. Also, we need to be collecting all these surveys that are in the back. If you didn't get one, please make your way back to get a survey. Those are your voice, Lord, to be able to give these leaders in the county some idea of what your concerns are and weight those concerns. So this is your time to voice that. So please don't be independent enough that you don't want to share that information, because I think now is the time. I thank you also for all the people that are out parking the cars this cold evening, and everyone that's involved with the cleanup here after this event is over. I'd like to also recognize our videographer over here to my right, your left, Greg Tart. And also the video will be posted on the Langland Horse Farms Facebook.
Yes, sir. We know a lot of people want to be able to watch the meeting tonight. We're unable to live stream it. If you've got people reaching out to you, we can't live stream it, but what we'll do is we'll upload the video after we're done tonight, and we'll share it out.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Greg. Everybody get that? Okay, I'd like to also recognize a consulting firm, Kimberly Horn and staff. Is Kimberly here tonight? She's here?
Kimberly Horn.
Okay. Kimberly Horn and staff. Okay, Braxton Newton and his staff. Is Braxton here tonight? Okay. And the county commissioners for allowing us the time, and I underline the time, to get our concerns submitted. And commissioners, we do truly thank you for that courtesy to allow us to be able to get this right, because we truly want to get it right. And I think you do too. But it's going to take time to get this like in order. And we hope it's not undue time, but time enough. It takes 9 months to get a calf and a baby. Anyway, so be sure to engage in those surveys. I have a few remarks. We want everyone here to complete the Johnston County Agriculture Property Survey. This is a way to get us to gather information about your operation and submit your concerns and suggestions to consultants and planning department. If you want your voice to be heard, be sure to complete this survey and turn it in tonight, please. Second bullet is there is also a letter to the Johnston County Commissioners that was drafted by several landowners in the McGee's Crossroads area. You can review, and if you are in agreement, you can sign this document, which will also be submitted to the consultants and planning department. Okay. Now, I would like to ask Mr. Donnie Adams if he would come to the podium, and while he's making his way up, I'm going to list his pedigree. Engineer with Becker Morgan Group of Clayton. He's from the Cleveland community. Worked with building industry to understand UDO. Volunteered his time at his expense to answer questions and help rural Johnston County farmers and landowners understand impact of UDO on them. Now, that being said, come on up, Donnie. I want everybody to have plenty of time to say what you want to say tonight to get your message across. But I'm a firm believer in, let's be bright, let's be brief, and let's be gone. Because we got work to do tomorrow. So let's get this job done tonight in an orderly fashion. And again, thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. There's a lot of people here. I was expecting a bunch, but I'm not sure I was expecting this much. Appreciate everybody showing up. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for all of those that made it possible tonight. I want to add a little bit to who I am. You heard my professional side, professional engineer, civil engineer, worked the majority of my life in residential, commercial land development, design. Most of it's been in Johnston County. Hope that doesn't put a target on me, but that's the truth. And NC State, graduated from NC State Civil Engineering. I'm thankful to be here tonight. And one of the things that I want to say is one of my granddaddy's sayings. He said that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so tonight, being able to stand in front of all you, landowners, farmers, people of Johnston County, means a lot to me. My granddaddy moved into Johnston County in the late 40s and purchased a piece of farm, a small farm in the Cleveland school community with not much more than a handshake and a smile. And then he worked the land and had children, and the children worked the land, and he grew his farm to a very nice assemblage in the Cleveland school area. I grew up on that farm. Barn and tobacco was one of the main things, and so I've done that from setting the plants to priming to taking it out of the barns and sheeting it. And so I was driving tractors up and down the roads in Johnston County. I think I said one time before, I don't think I'd be doing that, at least in the Cleveland community now, but I drove those as a little boy and had some wonderful times. So it's with that I take great pride in being able to stand here tonight, because it means a lot to me, and I try not to get emotional, but I feel like I have an opportunity to wear a couple of different hats. The profession that I've learned and worked and gained experience in, and then my deep roots. And I hope that what I'm saying tonight, and what I've said leading up to this night, makes my granddaddy proud and my whole family proud. And I appreciate you giving the time and listening to me. Once we're done tonight, I'll be sitting over on the table in the corner to answer any questions. And the questions that would come in my direction are going to be related to land development and the use of your property. I'm not going to profess to be the expert on this side of the room that can speak to the farming operations with chickens and horses and that part of the world. I need to stay in my lane and what I know. Also sitting with me over there is going to be Ed Aldridge. He is the chair of the Johnston County Economic Development Committee. And another fellow, Jason Carter. He's running a bit late, but I think he's going to join us. There he is. Jason is, he's a Johnston County resident, has a farm in the Benson area, a farm back over in the, I guess you'd call the current holders area, give or take. And so he has a deep knowledge and has spent a lot of time studying this UDO and be a good resource over there to be able to answer questions. So I'm gonna jump in. I'm not going to try to get deep into weeds. I want to start by just giving a high-level picture of the UDO, maybe the process or the progress that's been made up to this date, to tonight. So I'll start with the first release of the draft UDO was somewhere around Thanksgiving of 25, and there was a brief update, some additions, some revisions that were made and released the 22nd of December, just before Christmas. Planning board meeting was the first official public meeting where people had an opportunity to come and make comments and ask questions and share concerns and learn a bit more. That was January 6th of 26. Followed up pretty quickly, 2 weeks after that was another public meeting that was before the commissioners, Johnston County commissioners, on the 20th. Again, an opportunity to come listen, to share, offer comments, questions, concerns. And both of those meetings were held in the commissioners' room, meeting room in the courthouse. And if you know what that room is like, it's a small room, and Donnie's estimation is somewhere between 30 to 40 people can sit in there, plus the board members, plus staff and the attorneys that preside over those meetings. So it was a full house. The planning board, there were people that spilled out into the hallway, but they had an opportunity to speak if they wanted to. The commissioners meeting, even more representation was there. The room was full. but the hallway outside was standing room only in both directions, and I don't think anybody had a head count, but I believe, probably not this big of a crowd, but I believe there was more than 100 people assembled there to learn, to ask questions and offer concerns. So at that meeting, I think one of the biggest, it was several comments were shared, but one of the biggest things, in my opinion, that came out of the meeting was people were engaged in trying to understand what the UDO is, what the intent was, and how it may or may not affect property owners and residents of Johnston County. And part of that was being able to share concerns in that this is a big document, 620 some odd pages, and there's a lot in it, and we needed time to be able to digest it, comment on it. Obviously, something that size, you don't expect it to be perfect. It probably ain't gonna be perfect when it's done at the final day, but it takes a process to work through, and I think that was one of the biggest voices that was shared that night, and I believe that the commissioners appreciate that. I appreciate them listening and responding to it, to be able to move forward with some more time to study and to understand, to comment, and to address the concerns, regardless of what they are, to make this UDO the very best that it can be. I think one of the quotes that I like the best from the commissioners is recently it was posted that it's important and they want to make sure that proper time is given to make this right. And one of the things I probably should have said early on, and regardless of what my comments are tonight, I genuinely believe that everybody that has had their hand in this, and I'm talking about county staff, regardless of which department, I'm talking about the consultants from Kimley Horn, commissioners, other folks that have poured into it, stakeholders, groups that have poured into doing this. I genuinely believe that everybody has come about this with the true intention of making Johnston County the best place that it can be. Thing is, we don't always have that same opinion of what that means or what it looks like or what the pathway is to that. So everything that I'm going to say tonight, and I encourage everybody to do this as well, is coming from the point of respect and appreciation. Don't have to agree with what I say, or I don't have to agree with what others may say, but do want to hear it and understand it with respect. So continuing on that, I got a little sidetracked. Continuing on that, coming out of the meeting, and again with the comments and the time, the commissioners reconvened the steering committee, or the stakeholders focus group that was put in place early on during the process of drafting the UDO. They reconvened that actually last week with an intention to work through this, through the comments that have been provided by people, and the consultants involved in that, county staff are involved in that. It's my opinion that it's a very good group, diverse group, and I'm trusting that process will continue to move forward to be able to make this the best that it can be. I am hopeful that there will be more meetings of that group as we continue to get more comments and work through. A future meeting date has not been set at this time. Moving on from that, as comments continue to be addressed and the UDO, draft UDO, continues to be modified and shaped, getting closer to its final form, there is, as I understand it, there is going to be a public meeting, other public meeting or meetings where the draft UDO can be released with a time to take a look and then be able to have that public forum to ask some more questions and make comments and continue to try to make this better. I don't know what that was. And continuing on, there would be a future public meeting that would end up at in front of the commissioners for potentially a decision. I have not seen any official dates. From what I've heard and what I would speculate is the adoption date, once we get there, is most likely this calendar year at some time, 2026. Back up, I'm sorry, I left off one date that is a projected date and not been set in stone, but the public meeting in a forum maybe as large as this, and there may be several of them. I think there's a goal that it could potentially be as early as late March or roll into April sometime for a continued review. All right, that brings us to where we are. Again, I wanted to say that it continues to be a work in progress as it moves forward. I wanted to share a few of the high-level voice concerns. These are some that many people have voiced, and I'm not going to go through a complete list. I did spend a lot of time, stuck my head in it, made a bunch of comments. Some of my comments were very impactful areas. Some of them were more from being in UDOs and trying to apply them in land development, and so they may be like not consequential to the folks sitting here, but folks that are applying it, maybe some questions for clarity. So I'm not going to go through all that, just going to hit the high level stuff. The biggest concern that's been raised, in my opinion, and all this is my opinion, ain't nobody telling me what to say, this is what Donnie thinks, and that don't make it right. But in my opinion, the land use buffers that are prescribed by the draft that has been made public at this point, the one that I'm talking about is the December 22nd release. That's what I have to speak to. Those land use buffers adjacent to current agricultural uses, current farms, for land development that's going on adjacent to them. The buffers are, as they are currently drafted, are very impactful. For instance, if it's a residential subdivision immediately adjacent to an agricultural use, then that shared property line, the developing portion, the residential development, will have to set aside a minimum of a 75-foot buffer. And there's a few different ways that you can skin that CAD, but the one that stands out is 75-foot minimum. It'll include a prescribed landscaping standard, so many trees per 100 foot, so many understories, and so many shrubs. And then the bigger part of it is a berm that is, I'm not looking at my notes, I'm going to say, I believe I'm correct on this, but an 8-foot high berm with a minimum of a 3-to-1 side slope, and that's how you land stacks, how you pile the dirt up and slope it off 3-to-1. So in an 8-foot berm, then that means we're talking nearly 50 feet dirt. And so that's very impactful to that underlying piece of property for how it moves forward with the development. That was just residential. There's also that land use buffer applies to civic and public uses. It moves up to 100 feet. It also applies to commercial and retail and office and medical. And it moves up to 150 feet. Still the same type of plantings, but the buffer just gets bigger. And then finally, moving down to industrial, which has the biggest buffer in the draft, December 22nd, it is a 300-foot buffer on that. And so those are the main, those are significant impacts in the underlying use of the property, and it eats up property a lot. I know this UDO, I should have said this earlier, so I know this UDO is birthed out of the comprehensive growth plan that was approved back in 23, I think is the date of that, the time frame of that, to be able to align more with the projection, the vision that has been set in place. And one of those things is preserving property. And so my concern is that, and I'll keep on mentioning these, but my concern is that some of the things that are in the UDO with the thought of preserving some property has the potential to do just the opposite, to create a urban sprawl where we just keep moving out, because we're not going to control how many people want to come into Johnston County. Because I hope everybody here believes it. I believe that Johnston County is a great place to live, work, and to play. And people know that outside this room, and they're coming, and there's a certain number that's going to continue to come. So we got to be good stewards of our land, like I believe everybody would understand that in here. Continuing down the list, the next thing kind of in the same deal is land development density calculations depending on your use. And so the best example would be for residential land development. Under the current code that's in place today, density is calculated by your gross property. If you got 100 acres of property, then you apply whatever the allowed density rate is to figure out how many homes you can put on it. Moving into the current UDO, or the current draft of the UDO, it moves towards a net use, which you got to do a little calculations before, actually a lot of calculations before you can figure out how many homes that you can put on a piece of property. Takes out different things like wetlands or riparian buffers. There's, as it's drafted, and I keep saying as it's drafted because it is a work in progress, and I believe revisions continue to be made and corrected, and I think some of these things are being addressed in the process. But I got to start with what is public. So the density calculations, that's the same impact as what I shared with those land use buffers. The density is the same thing. It's going to drive how you can use your property, how many lots that you can get on a certain piece of property. Staying in the same line, this UDO proposes lot standards. We already have lot standards, but it proposes revisions to the lot standards that are concerning to the use, and I'm sticking with residential development. The setbacks and the lot widths. I know in our typical AR zoning, then I'll just use it versus trying to go through all the rest of them, but in a typical AR zoning, the setbacks as proposed today are about a 4-fold increase above what they are currently in place today, and so that also is a significant impact. Open space requirements. There are open space requirements with great intentions, but I think there are some things that need to be worked through on that, and I've shared my comments, and my comments have been heard and are in the process of being addressed. I've gotten responses on that, so please don't hear me say anything tonight that insinuates that anybody listened to me, because I believe there's been open ears and people are listening, hearing, and acting on everything that's being shared. But open space requirements are one of those. Another thing that is a good thing, but also doesn't always hit the mark on the intention, and that's tree preservation. Tree preservation is important, but there are some peculiarities in how it's defined currently that I think are significant challenges, and I've shared that, and I believe it'll be worked through the process. I could continue on, and I hate to keep saying this, and I didn't say exactly this before. My goal tonight is to not stand up here and try to tear down this UDO. I believe that the process we're on, the direction that we're headed is going to get us in the right direction. I do believe that there were updates needed to our UDO, and this is a major rewrite, and so in major rewrites there's some pains to go through, and I think this is one of them that we're talking through and learning and understanding. Before I step down, the last couple of things that I want to say, and I apologize for taking up so much time, but through this process, I realized that I was not paying attention to everything that was going on. I found myself being focused on my day-to-day professional work and was buried in that, and so I missed some things, and so I did a fast catch-up on this UDO, if I'm being 100% honest to you. The reason I say that is, in the process, I encourage everybody to be engaged and to be informed. I think the county has a good process for sharing information. Right now, you can go on and say, you can come see me and I'll call it if somebody doesn't provide it later, but you can go to www.johnstonnc.gov/subscribe, and you have an opportunity to sign up for all different sorts of mailing lists of things that are going on in the county. I did that. Then there is a separate, in part of that list, you actually have to send an email for something called the Sunshine List. And that will be sent over to Dana Cuddington. And, he is the clerk to the Board of Commissioners, and his email address is dana.cuddington@johnstonnc.gov. And if you subscribe to that, then you'll be notified of all public hearings, all meetings that the commissioners are involved in, everything, and I mean everything that's going on. I say that because I just did it within the past 30 days, and I'm very appreciative of that and the information that's shared in this area. It has bombarded, I got the time. My email's bombarded, but I think you'll stay informed if you'll subscribe to that. It's a great place. That being said, I'm going to sit down over there. Thank you, everybody, for coming out, and come see me and ask me a question. I'll do my best to answer it.
Thank you for those comments. Before I call you up, I got a thing or two I'd like to mention. I give some advice. I don't know if it fell on dead ears or not, but we'll see. But we talk about a document, a well-ordered document, usually has some instructions on the first page, the introduction, an index, etc. And I've also been told, well, indexes is old stuff. Well, don't think that I'm so holier than thou or what have you, but I do understand that Jesus Christ is our Creator.
Amen.
And I do understand that we have a book called the Holy Bible, and when you open it up, it gives you an index from Genesis to Revelations. Also has commentaries, if you don't understand it, what it means. And Butch, that's what we want. No further ado, we'd love to keep this as brief and bright and be gone as we can, but at the same time, we have to have patience and time to give these speakers opportunity to say what they brought to us. You've got a long bio here. He's been around a lot. He was NC State Grange Agricultural Programs Coordinator, chaplain for the NC State Grange Working Lands Trust Board of Directors, and chairman of the Conservation Committee, elected board member of the Johnston County Soil and Water District, serves as a deacon and adult Sunday school teacher at Piney Grove Chapel Baptist Church, born resident, current resident, farm owner in Johnston County, born again Christian whose Savior is Jesus Christ, retired NCDA in consumer service marketing, agribusiness, policy, environmental, conservation, farmland preservation. Whew. And no further ado, DeWitt Harney, I ask you to take the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, what John just said is a bunch of history that everybody here say they've got something similar somewhere. But tonight, I'm just going to come right straight forward to what I think is from I work in NC State Greens. I'm going to try to put a perspective on it, of this UDO and what it really means for Johnston County and the importance of a UDO in our processes. We all have to remember, I'm going to come also from a private property owner's rights, because that's where I believe it starts. Government's here to serve, and the people we elect are here to serve. Just like I'm here to serve you, as John mentions, soil water supervisor. If you got a problem with soil and water, see one of us, see some of us. We will try to address these things. But initially, I'm going to do 4 things I'm going to look at. Private property rights. What is a bona fide farmer? A 10-year commitment or EVAD program that deals with the buffers and things we potentially could do. And conservation easements. Those are all in my background. So I can tell you honestly what's occurring in those areas. First of all, I'll give you some background history before I go into private owner rights. Hope you all realize North Carolina is in a unique place in the United States. First of all, we're number one, in immigration of people to North Carolina than any other state. Really don't like that, but it's something we are. Despite what was said a while ago, we have an attractive place where people come. We've got mountains, we've got water, and that's where people go. Second thing is, here in Johnston County, we have the privilege of being the number one in the state in the loss of private farmland and forest land to other uses. What does that mean? We're only 19th in the nation in that as a county. Those are statistics. But what we also have to realize is immigration, people coming to Johnston County is not going to stop. We have a limited amount of land, water resources that these people are coming to. We have to share because it's what we are as a nation, as a country. We share what we have in helping people. So in the private property rights, let me just start where it all began. John mentioned in the beginning, when Paul Harvey was talking, well, in the beginning, God did create all this. He created the government we have, if you believe it or not. If you look at the Holy Word, it shows where Moses started government. It continued on through the decades and civilizations with kings and different things. It came back to where we originated our stuff from was actually from England, from the Magna Carta and different things. But when our founders here in the United States came together, they built a Constitution and a Bill of Rights that protects and helps us in our property rights and what we have. He also said to the government where our government's supposed to help serve us, not to dictate to us, but to serve us because we are a representative republic. In that process, our private property rights are protected by the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Down at the state level, there's still additional protections for our property rights. The General Assembly statutes identifies a bona fide farm. It identifies what it means to do easements and different things of business, etc. When I look at this, the EVAD, the UDO we're talking about, is an opportunity for us to come together as a collective group of Johnstonians and put something together that allows our commissioners to govern, that allows the private landowners to have their rights protected, at the same time for developers and those who are doing like Donnie is, to be able to work and do a business. We all got to work together. Without it, we are going to fail. It's kind of like being a boat where you got people in as a whole in the boat sinking. Our county is sinking unless we find a way to bail out the water and keep us afloat. In that process, we have people who just want to argue back and forth. We don't need to argue. We need to be unified to come together as a collective group. And that's what I'm going to try to present here, some items that will help us as property owners in that process. When we look at what the UDO does, it has some great things in it. But first of all, I know everybody here, most of them are ag-related and farm-related. There's one sentence in that UDO that eliminates a lot of concerns that's in this room, dealing with bona fide farming. Bona fide farms are exempt. from this UDO as spelled out? How many here think they're bona fide farmers? Raise your hand. Now, I'm going to go with what a bona fide farmer is, and you'll see how you actually could be a bona fide farmer and don't even realize it. Okay? Verse 5, bona fide farm purpose includes the production and activities relating or incidental in production of crops, grains, fruits, vegetables, ornamentals, flowering plants, dairy, livestock, poultry, and other forms of agriculture as defined in the State General Statute 106-58.1. Where performed on a farm in General Statutes 106-581.16 includes farms within the jurisdiction of a county and or any other farm owned or released to or from others by a bona fide farm operator, no matter where located. Where basically you may own land or a bona fide farmer is doing it, your farm is then bona fide. Keep that in mind. So there is a possibility that most farmers go and lease a lot of land. They're bona fide farmers, and they may be using your land. So you're covered from that standpoint, but you got to prove it and get statistics of it. It says further on, it says a good disclosed in North Carolina product that is produced on the subject to its conservation under General Statute 106-73.4 is a bona fide farm. In other words, if you've got a conservation easement and you're producing a goodness grows product, and that's a tremendous list of products in North Carolina, you're a bona fide farmer. For the purpose of determining whether the property is being used for a bona fide farm purpose, any of the following are sufficient evidence that the property is being used for bona fide farm purposes, but other evidence may be considered. First thing, listed a farm sale tax exemption certificate issued by a Department of Revenue. If you've got that sale exemption as a farmer, you've got it. And somebody who rents your land has got it, you can be a bona fide farmer. You just got to make the connection. Second, copy of the property tax list is showing that a property is eligible for participation in present use value program pursuant to General Statute 105-277.3. Everybody here know what a present use value form is? That's deferred taxes. If you got farms, basically the taxation of the land is based upon what production comes off that land and the value of that versus the appraised value of the property. Number 3, a copy of farm owners or operator Schedule F from the owner or operator most recent income tax returns. There's another way you can be a bona fide farmer. A lot of people have forest land. It says a forest management plan, a building or structure that is used, that's not a forest, but having a forest management plan. If you got it, you can be a bona fide farmer. Continuing on, a building or structure that is used for agritourism is a bona fide farm purpose if the building or structure is located on a property that is owned by a person who holds a qualified farm sales exemption certificate from the Department of Revenue. So all these things are included. The other thing is enrolled in present use value program persistent with GR Section 105-277.3. That's basically, I've already said that one time. But a lot of landowners should be looking at that process. All right, continuing on. In the UDO, there's things that were in there that we were looking at, or have looked at, or looking at it, that Donnie mentioned a few of them from the standpoint of the buffers and different things that are there. Some of those are real good if we can get it to manage where both the landowner, the development property, and everybody is working together. And somebody can correct me, but the UDO's purpose, because we haven't had one of them for 20-some years as far as getting it updated in place, is to help us protect some of the resources and drive or encourage development into areas where there's a sewer capacity, where there's water capacity. Believe it or not, our county is tapped out on those right now because that's some of our problems with development. We have to do a septic tank system in development on farmlands and different places where there's no sewer system. If we can condense that, if you look at the statistics from the American Farmland Trust, every time you take the lot size of where a house is and increase it, you automatically increase the use of farmland and forest land in an area, which means you drive down and kill basically the love or the breath of farming. Without land, you can't farm. You got to adapt something else. So that's what's occurring. Property rights, we want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to do what they want with their land. That's the reason for a property right, not be dictated to have a voluntary purpose. So in looking at that, continuing on, I look at it from the standpoint of the UDO and what it can do. And when we look at the buffers people were talking about, I've talked with some of the different leaderships in the county, and we're trying to figure out how to make that work. We want to keep the rural character of Johnston County, but that's our county, that's our heritage, our ag, our forestry, and different things. But where we have development, we also got to make sure where those two intersect, there is a protection or guidance that makes common sense. These buffers is where we have got to look at a possibility where both the landowner who owns the property and the farmer, the developer who's developing the property, can commingle and exist at the same time. We're all in the same boat, whether we like it or not, because we're neighbors. So when looking at that, I've been working diligently with some others to create what I call a 10-year contract or EVAD. How many here is in the voluntary ag district for Johnston County? Raise your hand. Anybody? If you're not in it and you are in have farm land, you need to consider application to get it done. What we're looking to do, the state statute of North Carolina allows for a contract called an EVAD, Enhanced Voluntary Ag District, to exist by county if it adopts it. Hopefully we'll be able to get that approach here in Johnston County as a tool which the property owner can use, which the county can also use and help and direct and work. The problem I see right now is we don't have enough incentives for the landowner to do it, and we're trying to work on that. I think we can do it with what we call a 10-year contract that's modified as an incentive for farmers or landowners to sign up in based upon a tax parcel. There's some things that's got to be done, but those are going to be worked on. Commissioner Troxford is at Farmland Trust Advisory Committee meeting, which oversees conservation on farmlands. He wants this to occur also. He's working with the state down on this. But at the same time, we see not only is it Johnston County, but other counties around where the intersect of population is occurring with the farms. We've got to find a way for us to be able to work and manage collectively together. So we can do a model in Johnston County that can be created, that can be used or transposed to other counties. All of agriculture, all landowners in the state win, along with the residents. But we want to keep our nature, our culture. So that's a process we're going through. In addition to that, John mentioned I was a conservation. Yes, I do conservation. I love to see conservation on farms. I love to see conservation from the standpoint that's what God put here on earth. I don't leave land better while I receive it. That's what we all should strive to do. If we can do that, we can do it. So these rules, the UDO, is a mechanism that will allow us to look at it, but we've got to make the right corrections. That's why it's almost essential for any landowner here to take what you've got, your thoughts, and put it on this piece of paper. This is the information that commissioners like Butch over here and others need to see, along with Mr. Newton and the planning department, say, hey, these are concerns we've got to address. But a lot of that stuff we just got to figure out and get it right. That's our issue. Now, if you have interest, and I'm going to take much time here, in doing any of these things, which was a property owner, please see me. I'll be glad to help you. I come here along as a local landowner, but also as a representative in the county, and also from the state greens, working across the whole state with other groups. This is something that can take hours and hours. John says I only had a few minutes. I'm taking it.
Thank you for those words. Get that survey. It is very important. I'm going to take just a second. You're time to share a little something with you that I experienced in Hickory, North Carolina, this weekend at the North Carolina Cattlemen's Conference. Howard Penny, are you in the room? There he is. He's back there in my back left, your back right. Howard, I ran into your cohort, and I told you this earlier today, Carl Gillespie. Carl is from Macon County. He was one of the presidents of North Carolina Cattlemen's Association right after I was president. He's now in the House of Representatives at Raleigh. And he made this comment, and I've heard this before, but how many in the room here have your local representative's telephone number, cell number, or email address that you could call and they know you by first name? Okay, that's just a very small few of us. And I say that to say, we all have, not all of us, but some of us have children, some of them have gone away, some of them states away. I do. I've got one in Texas, and I've got one in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I got one in this room tonight. And as a father, I told them, I said, look, if you don't look after yourself, don't expect anybody else to. And I say that to say it's our responsibility to have these local legislators in our cell phone, to be able to have a relationship with them, not just when something is wrong, but maybe when you found a favorite fishing hole you'd like to share with them somewhere. But I say that to say we got to do our part too. We got to look after ourselves and to build these relationships with these county commissioners and whoever else, our state legislators, our national representatives, and be in touch. We sit on our hands. We're kind of get where we're at tonight, and we don't want to get back there again. Okay, with that being said, I'd like to call up Dr. Tina Middleton. Please come up. Dr. Middleton, she's earned her PhD in nutrition, spent the last 20 years in regulatory affairs for large poultry and swine integrators, owns a horse farm in McGee's Crossroads. So, Dr. Middleton, please come to the podium.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful crowd. I am so excited that he asked how many people were bona fide farmers, because it's pretty obvious that it was a small percentage. I want to speak a little bit about my concerns as a bona fide farmer, but also talk a little bit more about other folks that are animal owners and some concerns that I had with this UDO about people that are not bona fide farmers. And I promised the little ladies over here beside of me I would speak a little slower on some of those general statutes, so if any of you want to write them down, you can, okay? So for bona fide farmers, if you go, and I'm going to say it real slow, if you will go to just Google the North Carolina General Statutes, item 160D-903. So General Statute 160D-903, agricultural uses, it talks specifically about what is and is not allowed to be a bona fide farmer. Okay, it tells you exactly what you need to do. You'll need to talk with your county people, your farm service people to get your tax exempt, things like that. But it's laid out in the general statutes. All right, another general statute I want you guys to write down is 106, and got to stand back from it. 106.581.1. 106.581.1, and those are the definitions of agriculture. Just like the former speaker said, there's a lot of things that are defined, and many people in this room perhaps could be bona fide farmers. And it says in page 18 of the UDO, so another thing you want to think about is how do you find this UDO? It is 616 pages long. I literally had someone call me on Friday and say, there's things in there you may want to know about. And I went, okay, what's the big deal? And then I found out it was 616 pages long. So I didn't have a lot of fun this weekend. I looked at a UDO. But it says on page 18, just as the former speaker said, nothing in this chapter shall be construed to affect bona fide farms. So these things do not apply to bona fide farms. A lot of things I'm going to talk about. And I am strictly going to focus on animals and animal care and animal use. That's all I'm going to talk about. But it does say in here, for any such use of property for non-farm purposes could be subject to the regulations of the chapter. So I guess as a bona fide farmer, the thing I have a concern about is how does one define non-farm uses? Because anybody in here that is a farmer or has farmed, you know, we got to figure out ways to make a living. And sometimes we have side businesses that relate to our farms. And so I would ask, as people consider refining this document from the draft form, please help us understand what might be construed as a non-farm activity, so that we don't subject our farm property to zoning requirements inadvertently just because we don't understand and it's not clearly defined. So that would be what I would request to our folks that are looking at this draft, is help us understand what might be considered a non-farm use of our farm property. All right? Now, I'm going to help everybody find things, because if you go online, you know, we ask for these indexes. One of the biggest problems is we've got a table of contents on the beginning of this UDO, and it refers us to page numbers, but the current document does not have page numbers listed on it. So I would ask, please, in the next iteration of this, would we please make sure there's page numbers in the document so that it's a little easier for us to find things. So you have to kind of look through and look up at the top of that online. But if you print this thing out, there's not a page number on it. So I would ask everybody to go to page 179. If you would write down, if you are an animal owner and have concerns about animals on your property and you are not currently a bona fide farmer, start on page 179. All right, it talks about permitted uses. And there is a table that starts on the very next page that talks about the various zoning areas and what are considered permitted uses. And there, the very, very first section is agricultural uses. So you can look at what your zoning is and what is considered a permitted use and what is considered something you're going to need a conditional approval to conduct on your property. So again, page 179, make things easy. It's hard to find things. Look on those tables and look at what is and is not permitted on your property based on your zoning. All right. The next thing I'd ask you to look at, and this is what I would ask for some help from those folks that are helping to refine this draft and to get it right. It begins on page 191. So when you get home, go to page 191, and there is a section here on what is considered agricultural uses. Now again, this clearly states when not associated with a bona fide farm. And we saw from this raising of hands how few people in this room truly are bona fide farmers. All right, it talks about what crop productions, what agricultural crop productions are allowed and under what conditions. Now, I'm not going to focus on those, but it does mention greenhouses and the heights of greenhouses, that there can be no retail sales on the site. Did I mention the page number? 191. In terms of, you know, the greenhouse structures, and there's control of noise and things like that. So, the next thing, it comes on page 192, the section B, refers to agriculture and livestock. And agriculture and livestock is the breeding, raising, and caring for domestic animals, including horses. I would ask our folks refining this document, there is an in parentheses here that says excluding private stables. I have no idea what that means.
Amen.
I truly have no idea what that means, and I think we need a little more definition, because I had a friend call me up and says, well, this doesn't apply to me, I have a private stable. I said, I really don't think that's what it means. But again, we need some clarification. My concern is that I'm not sure, and that bothers me when I'm not sure. It does talk about waste containment and manure storage, which I think is a good thing. Land application, water quality issues, I think that's all good. But when we get to the residential section, residential district section, there are some limits to the number of animals that you can have on your property that I find troubling, that I would like for our group to look at. There are some limits to the number of chickens you can have on your property. And you can't have a rooster. I'm scared to tell you what your chicken limit is, because I bet nobody in this room could currently meet it. So I think we need to look at that, and I've heard a rumor they have looked at that. But again, if you go to the UDO, you will see the limits clearly. Then the very next section talks about small farm animals and your restrictions for having small farm animals. And the way they define small farm animals was it's something that weighs less than 500 pounds. Okay? Or a fowl that weighs less than 50 pounds. Well, last time I looked, a chicken was a fowl, but okay, we've got some limits on chickens. But interestingly enough, this section doesn't have any limits at all. So I find it interesting and would ask for clarification, because I guess you could have 50 sheep, but only 4 chickens. So we need to get this right. I'm sure there's guidance. There's other counties that have done this. I actually spoke with some folks at the Horse Council today, and they're willing to help. But you know, they have a few restrictions, and they're supposed to be 50 feet from a nearest adjacent structure. These are all good. But there are minimum lot restrictions and you know, some things like that. But again, we have limits on chickens, but not on sheep and goats. Doesn't say anything about dogs. Doesn't say anything about dogs. Let's just not even talk about dogs.
Somebody had texted me that there was something in there, and I haven't read the whole thing.
Oh, good Lord help you if you have.
Lord bless. But dog rescues.
There may be something in the kennel section, but I'm not your gal. It was as hard as I could do over the weekend just to figure out the horses and the goats and the chickens. Okay? I mean, it was all I could do. But there was something about kennels in there, and if you go to that table of contents, it will have kennels. You can find it. Okay? You can find it. And if you just go and Google Johnston County and UDO, I promise you'll find a link and you can look at that document.
Thank you, Becky.
All right. Then we get to the large animals. Okay? Large animals generally include, but are not limited to, pigs, horses, and cows. Okay? And they talk about, you know, basically, well, I guess if the small ones are under 500, the big ones are over 500. There's a limit of the lot that they must have at least 1 acre in size to keep a pig, a horse, or a cow. Grazing type animals, and again, they talk about horses, cows, and dogs.
What is the reasoning behind that?
Ma'am, I haven't a clue. I'm just telling you, I think what we need to do, and we have a survey over there, is a green piece of paper, and everybody in this room that has concerns needs to fill that survey out and then drop it off before they leave. But grazing animals have 1 acre per adult animal of grazing area available to them, not including buildings.
And then you still have to.
Okay, so there's an acre requirement per animal. And your stables are supposed to be 50 feet from a property line. Then we've got a different issue about agricultural sales and services. It does require a conditional zoning permit for you to do agricultural sales or services if you're not a bona fide farm. So I am going to just remind you one more time. Go to page 191, read what it says, and if you have any concerns, make those known on these surveys, make these known, because we would like to get this right. We would like to make this to where this document works for everybody in the county. There's lots of folks that have 4-H projects, there's lots of folks that do things like that I think this would be problematic for many of these people. And I do want everyone to be aware of it. I was completely unaware of it on Thursday afternoon, and I became aware of it on Friday morning. So let's make everybody aware of this. Let's know the facts. Let's not come up with some crazy things that people call me about that are not in this document. This document literally has 2 pages about information and restrictions on animals. That's all it is. You can read 2 pages and then let folks know what's going on. All right? That's all I've got to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's getting a little long, but there's a man in the room I've been looking at that I've admired a long time. He's a tough guy, tough as I know. Dennis Johnston, would you stand, please? Lift him up. Dennis is a landowner, a farmer. He's got 2 sons in here that's helped stood behind him and helped him work. Some of them still work on the farm. And Dennis, you shouldn't have to deal with this at this age in your life. Your dear wife has gone on to the hereafter and left you here with this mess. And I apologize that you're having to deal with such as this, and all the other elderly people in this room that has laid awake at night worrying about what's going on for the lack of true, concise information on where we're going with this. So I hope everybody understands in our leadership that we need this clarity. Okay, without any further ado, I would like to ask Mr. Butch Louder to the podium. And after Butch, I will be asking Will Bird and Lou Starling. And we do want to keep it as brief and bright and be gone as we can.
So I will definitely work on the brief part, the bright, I don't know so much. I will be Butch though. I do want to say I'm currently the vice chairman of the county commissioners. I was chaired as this process started. And it's always been my opinion that this is the biggest thing that we as commissioners will do in our service to the county. But I also believe that it's the biggest thing that we will do in this county, because this is looking forward 20, 25, 30 years down the road. I do want to say, as part of being Butch, I'm going to own things that I'm in the process of, have been responsible for. And I think some of the confusion when I was chairman, I set a schedule. And I know when some of you came to the January 20th meeting, you were fully expecting that we were going to vote on it. That was not the intention of the Board of Commissioners to vote on it that night. And I think after a couple of speakers into it, we realized that, hey, this was a time for us to listen. And I think the commissioners have all, and I think I can say that, I know Mr. Stovall's here, and I think Mr. Rose is here, that commissioners are listening. You've got our attention early on the 20th, and you have maintained our attention, and I thank all of you for coming. I do want to say, we do have the next, and we just kind of decided this today in our planning for our next meeting, March the 23rd at 6 o'clock at the Ag Center. We will host another town hall type event with informational stations, a presentation, and an opportunity for you to provide comment and input. And again, we're going to take some of the comments we've had now, develop those, and see where we are. And finally, the last thing I do want to say, and John opened up this with this prayer, is I ask for prayers for the commissioners as we go making the decision. Again, the biggest thing we're going to do for this county, and ask for those prayers of wisdom and discernment as we move forward in this process. And again, I thank you for your participation. I know all the commissioners, rarely do we get 10 people to our meetings, so when we get hundreds of people to a meeting to give us feedback, that is a good thing. The process is not pretty, but we're seeing what the sausage looks like as it's being made. But I do thank you, and come on the 23rd and again, have another opportunity to provide input to the commissioners. Thank you.
Will, would you come forward, please? Which, what location did you say? Pardon? The Ag Center in Johnston County. Okay. What time? 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, Ag Center. Okay, Mr. Bird.
Good evening, everyone. This is unbelievable. I'll be real honest with you. I just want to thank everyone for taking your time to get here. I wish we had a bigger venue that everyone could get in and sit down. But I truly do appreciate the outpouring of support and coming out to support and try to be a part of planning the future of our county. One thing I want everyone to think about, this is something I've asked people for years now and never have truly gotten a good answer back. It kind of dumbfounds people. And that is this, and I think it applies to what we're looking at today and why everybody's concerns are here today. I want y'all to think about and take it home with you, really ponder over it. Name one thing in this country, in this state, in this county, that you're truly free to do anymore. We tout ourselves as a free country, but are we? And there's laws that apply to this and that. There's regulations that apply to this and that. There's sections B's and subsections that apply to this and that. Just really think about it at some point. So anyway, this is the UDO. That is front and back, 619 pages. And trust me, I know because I numbered each and every one of them. That's a cumbersome task in itself, so yes, I will please encourage county commissioners to put numbers on it. I'm a paper field type guy. So I'm going to go through some of the things that, at least from my perspective, and I want the community, not just everyone here today, everyone in this county, whether ag-related, whether you have livestock at home or what have you, everyone here in this county needs to be involved because there's something here that touches everyone's lives, whether they've realized it or not. You have to dive through it and see. So one thing I would like some clarity on, and this is a little side point that has not been brought up tonight, is penalties and remedies and recovery of administration costs. Criminal penalties. That's on page 24. I would encourage anyone to read through that and then let's get a little clearer explanation of what criminal penalties are, what they apply to when it comes to code violation. Because that's the onset of, if you don't meet the requirements of everything else that's in here, it could really affect you later.
To bankrupt you is what it is.
Do what?
It's to bankrupt you is what it is.
Well, so criminal penalties, any violation of any provision of this chapter shall constitute a misdemeanor and shall be subject to the violator to a penalty of $500 or imprisonment for not more than 30 days. Any act constituting a violation of this chapter shall also be subject to offender to a civil penalty of $100. And it goes on. That's on 24. So permitted uses. Lady earlier alluded to this, but I have a question here that I have not heard recognized tonight. And once again, a lot of this may just be clarity. So in permitted uses, page 180, at least how I read this, in permitted uses. So a single family detached home, so in other words, a stick-built home, would that be the definition of that, Butch? That's how I read it in the descriptions here. So agricultural, residential, you are permitted. So you could have your chicken or pig or whatever. Straight agriculture, of course not. That would apply to bona fide farms. And then agriculture estate is permitted on that as well. Now, where I take issue, you take the same piece of property, this one with a stick-built home, you take this one with a manufactured home. On page 181, manufactured home, agricultural restriction, nothing. Agriculture, nothing. Agricultural estate, nothing. That has to be changed. It should not matter the structure.
You can't have that, right?
That is how I read it. If it's not, we need clarity. That is 181 and 182. All right, hold on just a second.
Can you kind of give a little, just a few more details on that? I think a few people just said, what in the world did you just say?
So,
Can I explain?
under permitted uses, so it's going to look like this. It's a chart. So under permitted uses, residential uses, single-family detached, you are allowed your chicken or what have you under those circumstances. So it's allowed under agricultural residential and agricultural estate. You go to 181, manufactured home, it is not allowed. None of those agricultural uses.
You can't have anything.
That is how I read
Yeah,
it.
you live in a front or a double wide. If it wasn't built outside in the rain, you can't have it. If it was delivered-
Now, moving on. So agricultural uses in 191, and some of this was alluded to earlier. One thing that kind of puzzles me is there's two different, besides the bona fide farms, there are two different acreage requirements. So anyway, one of these, agricultural crop production standards, sites shall contain a minimum 3 acres. Greenhouses used in the agricultural operation not to exceed 8 feet in height and 16 feet in width. And I've made this point earlier, so I won't pound on it. There shall be no retail sales on the site. Greenhouses and other structures and equipment in agricultural operations shall be screened from the rights of way and adjacent residential land. This one I really have question of, and I think we really need clarity of, because I could see it being a dirty booger down the road. Because part of the problem with this whole UDO is it's very open, in my opinion, to interpretation. And I think this is definitely one of those parts that's interpretation. So on page 192, number 5, and this would be, at least what I think it would apply to would be, let's say you have a farm-all tractor and a half-acre garden that you do every year. So noise from machinery or activities used in agricultural crop production shall not impact adjacent residentially zoned land. Mitigation, one, we need a definition of what that mitigation would be, shall be by means of muffling or setting back the source of noise to an adequate, once again, we need a definition of what that adequate is, adequate distance from adjacent property. So does that mean that if your neighbor has trouble when you're running your farm all doing your spring garden, that you have to make amends for him? I don't know, but we need definition. Agricultural livestock. So once again, we get to the uses of just 4 hens and no rooster. I really have no idea why that should apply to somebody out on a smaller lot out in the country. If you're in a HOA, that's fine. So small animals. Now, when she alluded to this one earlier, I had already wrote down notes weeks ago, and I'm a lot more dramatic than you are with the 50 sheep. So my question was this: so small animals mean those normally weigh less than 500 pounds at maturity. Small animals include, but are not limited to goats, sheep, rabbits, etc. So my question is, I can only have 4 hens on that property, but can I have 1,000 goats? That's what I wrote down. So, Another part of this clause in section D, pens, roosters, hutches, etc. for animals that are located at least 50 feet from the nearest adjacent structure. My question is this, not on new builds. My question is this, does it apply to grandfather us in so that we don't have to move everything? The lots which the animals are kept at least 1 acre in size. Now see, here's something that becomes really tricky that I think we have to look at. So I still assume that this has to be on a 3 acre property, but you'd imagine that if you're on a 3 acre property, you probably have a home there, one. You've probably got a shed, but if you've got animals, you're going to have another building. An acre is 208.71 feet. If you've got to have structure to cover that animal, as it says, that would leave you an 8 by 8 right in the middle of it because you got to be 100 foot from the property line. Now, I can keep going on here. I'm going to wrap up with a few things, and then I'm going to come back to this just a second. So, another part of this that just seems very alarming to me, and just overreach, there is 40 pages of just dictating signage.
That they don't pick
Do we
up
really
after
need? Do
they're
we really
elected.
need such that much?
They litter our streets.
Now, fencing. This is also very concerning. Electric and barbed wire fence, and no, this is not on a bona fide farm, so please. Electric fences are only permitted in conjunction with agricultural activities and industrial activities by the right of AG 1I-1 and 1-2 districts. And all others require approval from the planning board. Electric fences must abide from the following standards. Underground fences that are used in conjunction with electric transponder collars for pets may be permitted in all districts. So one, my question to that, do you have to go get a permit to put an underground fence in for a little toy dog? Now, number two, electric fences must be driven only by a commercial storage battery not to exceed 12 volts. So you can't even plug your fence box in. You have to have it on battery storage. Now, I'm probably going to mix my pages up here. Now, this is a kind of a rough thing here, but what really, truly concerns me a lot about this, 4-H was a huge part of my life. My mother spent her life in that extension office working 4-H. She was 4-H program director. So I know a little bit about 4-H. Not only did I participate, I lived it, I heard it from my mom and everything that was going on. So I got a little knowledge there. So I've done a little, we've done a little bit of digging here. Now, I did not want to invade people's privacy and try to call everybody, because not knowing how people feel about something or whether they want to relinquish what's going on their property, I didn't want to invade that. But just going off last year's 4-H livestock program participants, at least what you can pull off GIS and look at, and I know a lot of these personally, so I've looked at their place and I know exactly where their animals were housed and worked at. So 30 of those, more than 5 acres. Okay, that works for this. 15 of those, 3 to 4 acres. We're toning it down now. 15 of those, no info. Most likely those are people that are renting property, and if they're renting property, it probably doesn't fall into any of this. It's probably not large enough. But there's 38 of those kids from last year's program that do not qualify to have an animal to show at the livestock show because of acreage. Now, I don't know if y'all know Paul Dunn or not, but I know he has a huge concern, and I think y'all have seen that as well. The majority of his feed customers are not bona fide farms. More than likely, they don't have the acreage. I know there was some talk about bona fide farms and maybe qualifying, but they don't have the acreage, and more than likely to actually qualify to be a bona fide farm for livestock. This is going to put at least a huge hurt on him and other feed supply stores, Tractor Supply, Agri Supply, it's going to trickle right on down in through the supply stores for agriculture. If they're lucky to stay in business, they're real good at playing a dollar. We've got to get this right. We've got to have input, and that's not hand-picked input from whoever you think is going to give you a bidding. It's got to be who's willing to come.
Well said, Will. I'll ask Lou Starling to be coming up to the podium. And, what? You know, I was visiting with a friend of mine from Haywood County on the phone Sunday night. And, you know, Haywood County has got some pretty expensive real estate up there as well, and farmers and stuff. And they were, you know, trying to insinuate that the farmer was just a farmer. And this guy let it be clear to the county that I farm, but my business is real estate. And my land is my real estate. And as it gains value over my life, it's my right to take my real estate and turn it into something else if I choose to. We're not living in a life of a socialist environment. And with that, I'll just leave you with that, and I ask Mr. Lou Starling to come forward.
Thank you. Lou Starling, I'm a lawyer in Smithfield, 405 East Market Street. I was asked, I think the day of the hearing or the day before, by a number of family farmers, tell us what this means, and if you can't figure it out, see if we can go stop it that night. And of course, 600 and some pages, there's no way you can look at that through that fast. The commissioners were very grateful, very kind, and did exactly what we asked them to do, slow it down. Slow it down. And they've done exactly what we asked them to do by way of having hearings. But I would say to you this, it seems to us, the group of family farmers that I represent, that perhaps we've gone about this in a very backwards way. And that is, we're given a document of 617 pages and say, what don't you like? Tell us quick, we're going to pass it next week. Well, as you've heard the speakers, that is impossible to do. We're going through the process, they're taking things out, but we're not yet getting the revisions that are being made. So we can't tell our group, we can't tell you what's in there, because we went to a meeting last week and the subject was buffers. How did you come up with the buffers? And the consultant said we came up with them arbitrarily. How did you come up with them arbitrarily? We've heard a lot of things that say, if you're a bona fide farm, don't worry about it. Well, I would submit to you that having to prove that you're a bona fide farmer is the Lawyer's Relief Act. That is a very complicated process. Get this from the Department of Revenue, get that from the Department of Revenue, do this, do that. This is the most sweeping change that this county will make in our lifetime. In our lifetime. And I would submit to you that if 3 or 4 lawyers can't quickly review it and tell you what it means, we need to slow it down. We need to slow it down so that everybody can look everybody in the face and say, this is what it says, these are going to be our requirements, and we can live by it. We understand it. How can you help? As representing the family farmers, I would say go to the meetings, let your voice be heard. But you make no doubt about it, there are 7 county commissioners that are going to vote up or down on this after the staff gets through with it. 7 commissioners. Y'all need to learn these commissioners. You need to have them on speed dial, as the person said a few minutes ago about your representatives. Because if staff can't work out your concerns and you don't think it's in the best interest of the county, all of you need to call the county commissioners and say, vote it down. The commissioners are working very hard to have staff meetings. We're going to all of them, and they are trying to incorporate your concerns. But you have the ultimate voice, and that is in this room, by having your commissioners on speed dial and tell them how you feel. As a lawyer for the family farmers, we're going to be in the ditches to try to work it out as best we can. It's hard to work out 617 pages, but we're doing our best. But if the staff or the commissioners can't work it out to your satisfaction, you have the ultimate power in saying, vote and stop it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Starling. Thank you for your time and your care about our county and our family farms in this county. And I commend those that have employed you on this situation. I have been texted by Mike Rose wanting to come forth and have a few words. Is Mike in the room still? Mike is getting long. It's getting time to round this thing up, and as he's coming up, I want to remind you again, as Mr. Starling just said, you got a voice, and there's, I think, a green paper in it, DeWitt, a green paper with a survey on it. Don't leave in vain tonight without carrying one home or filling it out and leaving it here. I prefer you to fill it out here, because if it goes home, it may get on the counter. But please take the time to fill that out while we're sitting here or after this meeting is over. And after this is over with, well, when our speakers are finished, we will start getting into some breakout areas for you to have some discussion about your interest. So that's coming up next. So be brief, be frank, that's all.
All right, yeah. I am Mike Rose, County Commissioner, District 3. And so I just wanted to say real quick how great this turnout is tonight. And the UDO was about 25 years old as it speaks. So I think that everybody can, probably all of us agree that any document that's 25 years old in this county probably is obsolete. So it needed some updating. We had 7 community meetings around the county, and there was, I think the one that I attended in my district, Blackness Crossroads, was the most highly attended with 15 people. And I say that because I take full responsibility that I think that we as a county did a poor job of letting everyone know how important it was. Most people are out doing their job, you know, working, and they hear about some UDO meeting, and what's that? I don't know what it is. So I get it. I totally get that. I will say that, you know, the staff and Kimberly Horn tried to put together a document that, based on the feedback of the people who came to those meetings, and as we can see, we got the draft just before the public did, and we looked at it, and yeah, there was some changes that need to be made, and I'm very thankful that everyone showed up at our board meeting to let us hear it. I would never ever try to push something through and vote for any kind of document that is not ready, that's not there. We heard, and we're here tonight that there's still a chance to be made. And I will promise I'm not voting for anything that says you can't have some chickens in your
A rooster.
And a rooster, right? Exactly. So I know that we're going to get some things right, and I appreciate everybody being here. Come to the meeting on March 23rd. Engage. But just understand that we are listening, and we are not trying to do anything but make this county better. And if there's some problems with it, we will fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And Mike and Butch and who's our other commissioner in the House? Bill Stovall. We really appreciate you being here and listening, but we do expect you to hear us. And we do expect to find some resolve and to find some middle ground in where we're at. And I think you understand where we're at today. That being said, I do want to reiterate enough to fill that paper out before you can go home. We're fixing to go into our breakout sessions at this moment. And listen to me carefully so you kind of understand what we're going to do with this. And don't we have some people in the room to try to help direct folks where they need to go. Don't Olive, are you in? Where's Dawn? Okay, she must be at the front. Nevertheless, the Johnston County Agricultural Property Survey, if you need to download or share it with others, it's available on Facebook, Langdon Farms. And also to get your letter that the county commissioners that's been circulated to be passed around, be sure to find that before you leave here tonight. And if you have an opportunity to ask any questions, you know, get up with the people that were here tonight, all of the speakers, and get that taken care of. Okay. Chad. Chad's raising his hand to have a word on the podium. Step up, sir. Michael Wenson, if you're in the room, please see me up in the front, please. Okay.
I'll be real quick. I know everybody's ready to get home. Thank you so much for showing up. This is my neighborhood. These are my people. These are Johnston County people. We've got great Johnston County commissioners. We just had a mishap, and we're going to correct it. We got great county staff. What I want to leave with the message is, and this is not a campaign speech, forget about a campaign. I know the job of county commissioners. It's a hard job. I know the job of county staff. I know property rights. I want everybody to leave here and be certain that the right thing is going to be done. We all make mistakes, got a little misguided. It will be corrected. I've got full faith in county government. Everybody, please go home, relax, knowing you can contact your representatives like you come out tonight and spent your time when you could have been doing anything else tonight. There's so many series on TV that we love to watch, and we're sitting in here listening to great speeches. Please have faith in your county government. I give you my word, you're going to be fine. I just wanted everybody to know on a closing note. We're a great county, we're a growing county, we're going to get it right. So I just wanted to leave you all with that note, okay? Thank you.